today the wide range of volumetric video accessories, applications, software, hardware, approaches, and methods. And I thank you for joining us today. My name is Heyning, and from all of us at MetaTr versal, we are glad that you are here with us. We are going to be featuring many speakers giving short talks on their work within the Volumetric Format Association, within companies that are working on volumetric video, and within the companies that are currently pioneering new methods in these spaces. So for the next 2 hours, we are going to be quickly rotating through a series of talks. This is the latest in a series of MetaTr versal events, and I'm going to be welcoming a colleague up here with me. Thank you for joining us today here for MetaTr versal Volumetric Video. So today we are going to be exploring the wide range of volumetric applications and hardware. We are going to be looking at different pain points in the volumetric video industry and how we can work together through 5-minute statements made by CEOs, pioneers, visionaries across this industry. So to start off, we are going to be doing a bit of contextualizing and sense making. I'm going to be inviting up now a colleague of mine who's been doing a number of these events with me. Her name is Julie Smithson. And Julie, it's great to see you today. We are going to be diving into something called MetaTr versal together. And I was hoping that you could give us a little bit of background on the MetaTr versal journey that we've been taking together over the last 2 years.
Absolutely. And thanks again for having me. This is actually our 9th event, and going back to our roots, 3 Zoom calls, 1 streaming show, a stage play, 2 portal crawls, and a talk at AWE. And, you know, we're looking forward to hearing more about the volumetric capture landscape, you know, as we start to enter this space and become more spatial. You know, our identities and the 3D assets, you know, that are in the space become, you know, there's agency behind that, and we need to make sure that we're putting the best practices and standards behind what we're doing, what we're building, how we're building it, how we collaborate together. So looking forward to hearing from our speakers today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Terry Schussler. I'm the Senior Director of XR Metaverse. And I'm really excited to be here today with my collaborators, Ben, Julie, Ivo, and Neil, to share with you MetaTr versal 9, focused on volumetric video. Today, I wanted to provide a little context for why we got together to drive this particular topic forward into the community. So I wanted to start with a little bit of context about why volumetric video is important to us. You know, we've learned a lot of lessons from the experience of the pandemic when we've lost that physical connection with each other over the last few years. Being separated physically means that we lose a lot of the emotional connection that we have normally in a working place. And we've experienced this through, you know, the constant use of videos conferencing platforms like Zoom, where all we see are sort of talking heads, and a lot of people even get camera fatigue and turn the camera off. So, you know, really we lose a lot of that sense of presence with each other. With volumetric video, we go from having just a digital 2D head to a full 3D body presence, and that allows for us to create the sense of spatial connection with each other, which increases some emotional bonding through a concept called proximity principle, which is that as we get physically closer together, we have a stronger emotional bond. And we also see this because we have the ability to leverage nonverbal communication methods through body language, full body language. And so the way that I move my hands and gesture becomes part of the emotional transfer of knowledge and communication that we have. So this allows us to have a better sense of agency and presence with each other. And this also allows us to, through the technology, have a variety of different contexts in which this content can be presented. Because volumetric video can be interactive, we can move our presence around each other, and it really allows for a deeper sense of immersion. Also, this content is somewhat future-proof in the way that we capture the data today, and I'll talk more about this later, can be leveraged quite a lot in different formats and for different resolutions. So this is some of the key reasons why volumetric video is so important to us. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the history that we've gone through. I've grown up with the computer industry, and as I've done so, I've learned how the value of these different data formats that we've developed has become so important, because even today, decades later, we're still using, TXT files, CSV files, GIFs, JPEGs, and so forth. And so all these different standard formats that we've developed allow us to preserve the value of the data that we capture the initial time of creation and reuse that over and over again for an indefinite period of time. And so I'm really excited with the idea that we can take the lessons that we've learned from all these different formats and apply this to the volumetric video industry so that we can begin to capture data that we know we can use again in the future. This is something that's really important to all of us. So volumetric video has the opportunity to really shape the future of 3D experiences. We're on the cusp of making this transition from desktop, laptop, mobile computing to spatial computing. And as we move from a 2D screen-based environment to a 3D environment through new devices that are coming to the market, we're able to really leverage this idea of blending digital content with the real world. And volumetric video will become a key part of this content experience. So for us, the ability to transform the viewing angles and reimagine the way the content is going to be used in a way that's different than what it was at the time of capture is really, really interesting to us, and it allows us to have a bit of future proofing. We also have the ability to capture data at resolutions that we actually can't even render on 2D screens today. So really looking forward to the opportunity for us to take advantage of new display technologies and use volumetric video more intensely with those display environments. Now, today we have a pantheon of the most experienced speakers in the world who will speak about different pain points and calls to action to address those pain points. The biggest issue that we have in the volumetric video industry is the lack of interoperability. And so our speakers today will talk about this from the context of capture, editing, processing, compressing, and rendering volumetric video. So I really appreciate the opportunity today to participate in this event. And now back to you, Ivo.
Neil Trevett from the Metaverse Standards Forum and NVIDIA. Thank you for joining us, Neil.
Hey, thanks, Ivo. Good to see everyone. It's really great to see the key volumetric video players come together here to explore how broad collaboration may be to the benefit of all. And I was asked to speak very briefly about how the Metaverse Standards Forum may possibly play a role in any ongoing discussions. And looking back, it was exactly this kind of conversation, MetaTr versal, around a different need, the need for cooperation around traversing online 3D worlds, that helped inspire the formation of the Metaverse Standards Forum last year. The forum, it's a unique venue. It's not a standards organization, but it's intended to be a welcoming, neutral venue where standards organizations can come together to meet, to cooperate between themselves and with the broader industry. We have over 2,500 members, so we can for the initiatives of our member standards organizations, and we are delighted to have had VFA as a forum member since the forum's launch. The forum is focused around exploring requirements, use cases, and gaps in standardization, and then executing pragmatic short-term projects to encourage increased interoperability. And we organize into domain groups that focus on a particular area where broader cooperation and interoperability and standardization can add value. And importantly, where all the key players in standards and industry agree that cooperation now is useful and needed. And the way it works is any forum member can propose a domain group on any topic that's related to spatial computing in the metaverse, including volumetric video, of course. So if this group were to find value in a forum domain group, to provide a structured venue for ongoing cooperative discussions, then the forum stands ready to help. And as I mentioned, VFA is a member, and Denny, I think, is speaking next. So Denny and the VFA or any other standards organizations here, just let us know what the forum can do to help to further these great discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neil. We next have Denny. Denny, are you with us? Let's make sure we have volume. Excellent. Denny, you are going to be sharing with us the volumetric video format and giving us a little bit more about the Volumetric Format Association. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having us. We're very excited to be part of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. About 2 years ago, the industry got together and looked at volumetric as sort of a new media format. And what we looked at was, what is a media format? And there's really 4 pillars, no matter whether it's volumetric, DVDs, audio formats. And these are the 4 pillars that we see it makes up a new format. And that is, content is king. I think we've heard that a billion times. Well, a diversity of content is absolutely king to a format. So whether you're a big studio making high-end content, an independent making stories, or you're doing training videos and everything in between, a format has to support everything. And that's what we are focusing on at the VFA. The next and the most important thing is that it has to be better than existing formats and existing technologies. 1, for consumers to adopt it, but 2, for companies to actually embrace it and get behind it, because it is nascent and they want to make sure that if they're investing in it, it's going to be better than something else out there, and then have become a viable product and viable business. The third thing is it has to support interoperability. We already touched on that, but that goes from, hey, I'm doing a training video and I see my capture from stage X, and it looks good, and then I 6 months later do another training video and it's from stage B and it looks a lot different. So the consumer quality interoperability needs to be there, but all the way down the pipe to the companies that are building these technologies need to be able to say, hey, I've been using this sort of time of flight camera and now I switch to a structured light, or I'm moving on to machine learning with Nerve. How can I swap out sort of the capture side and know that my technology stack is going to work? So interoperability from consumer playback all the way to capture. And the fourth and most important part of a successful format is that it needs to be global and it needs to be democratic. I think of the most successful optical format, which was DVDs. At the peak of DVDs, Hollywood was saying they were generating 40% of the revenue. At that same time, there were more DVDs being manufactured outside of Hollywood, so much so there's 1 million copies of DVD software sold. That software was there to actually send your DVD to a manufacturing facility. So we're not even talking about the burning of DVDs. A global format can do that. And it's built upon the industry that is sort of driving standards, those who are creating content, and those who are going to distribute that content. So that's what the members of the VFA here believe is a new media format. So what are we actually working on? What we're working on is, it starts with definitions and best practices. Maybe you're using 1 camera, like I said, doing machine learning, or you're using 100 cameras with 3-second delay doing a live sport events. There's best practices and definitions we can all agree on. Next, we're developing standards and specifications for those standards. The VFA released the decode and render specification that can compress 1 all the way to an entire basketball game. And we're about to release 1.1 in the next couple of weeks as a specification standard. And then the VFA is there to support what the members are doing and the use cases they're supporting, whether it's virtual production, telecommunications, creative storytelling, and everything else our members are working on. We go to events, and when we host private events as well to educate the industry. So how can you get involved? Well, we have 3 different membership tiers, and those membership tiers cover a wide variety of backgrounds, whether you're creating a camera or you're doing playback or you're a content creator. If you're not sure where to get started, we highly recommend the community member. It's great for networking, understanding what this industry is all about, and getting to know sort of what tools and stages are available. The next is advisor member. Maybe you're building some technology, maybe you're building a platform. That's a great membership level. And finally, we have a board of directors are really sort of guiding the ship of the VFA. Those are 3 membership tiers. What's the next steps? Simply visit volumetricformat.org. We do a podcast every 2 weeks that talks about the industry, talks about the use cases. It's a great podcast to sort of get your feet wet with volumetric. We do attend events, as I mentioned. Go there, see if you're going to be at one of the events. And if you are ready to take the next step, get in touch with us. It's info@volumetricformat.org. And I really hope that I meet you in the near future at one of the events or in one of our working groups. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Denny. That is a lot of information to take in. I just want to give you a big round of applause for all of your hard work as well on the Volumetric Format Association. I encourage all of you to check it out. I certainly want to go and see where those events might line up with my schedule as a producer. These are questions that are always coming up. So thank you so much for the work you're doing to bring us all together and hopefully work toward interoperability and better productions across the board. We have tremendous speakers coming up throughout the next hour and a half. I'm going to be calling up Kamal Mistry from Arcturus. You've made it. Let's hear your voice. Can I hear your microphone?
Hello, everyone.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for joining us today. The next 5 minutes are yours, Kamal.
Thank you. I'll try to do the 5 minutes justice, and tough act to follow from Denny, but here we go. Thank you, Terry, Neil, Denny, Ben, and the Metaversal team for the invitation. Awesome, high quality panels and organizers. It's an honor to be amongst all of you. Just introducing myself, I'm Kamal Mistry. I am CEO at Arcturus. I have been involved in product management in 3D graphics. I started my career at Pixar, then went to Autodesk, worked at Netflix, and most recently at Uber ATG on robotics simulation and self-driving cars. So a long career in product management, and now I am CEO at a startup. Go figure. What got me excited was obviously what the future of volumetric video brings. And Arcturus is a we consider ourselves technology and production partners for people looking to create experiences. We have software that we sell. We are makers of HoloSuite, a post-production tool for volumetric video. It allows for editing, compression, streaming, and playback of the medium. And HoloSuite intends to be like the Adobe Premiere for this medium. So we try to be as agnostic as possible with formats and all of that, and accept everybody's format and try to edit, compress, and stream it. So I've been thinking a little bit about pain points in our sector, and Terry, you mentioned a few things that were kind of pain points on the technical side. I have a sort of a business kind of level of pain points that I'd like to bring up and air, and maybe others feel the same way. So I feel like the benefits of volumetric video are not easily communicated. What is it? How cool is it? And so I think that's a real pain point, and we've kind of solved that in some way, but nobody's hit it out of the park. I think we should work together on that. I think volumetric video it costs a lot to shoot, and so especially in the time of economic downturn, it's difficult to get people excited on a new medium, and the cost inhibits even the creators who we want to engage, the creator economy, if you will, and you need to have big budgets and be an extreme professional to get this thing going. And then I think there's also kind of a difficulty to take full advantage of all of the devices that most consumers currently have access to. So I'm talking about phones and that type of thing. And then I still feel volumetric video hasn't quite hit the quality bar that people are used to with 2D mediums. And so it's not a bona fide replacement to regular 2D forms of principal photography yet. I know we're getting there. So, quality, relightability, these are things that need to improve in order for the medium to get broad adoption. And then on the standard side, of course, we enthusiastically support the VFA. Devin Horseman, our CTO, is an active participant, and we want to do what we can to drive standardization and broader adoption of the medium. So, totally all for that. And then for the path forward, I feel like we need to work together to build and promote industry-specific use cases. I think we need to work together as a team for all boats to rise. As much as possible, we need more events like this at conferences to raise awareness and certainly proof points of the medium doing well as well. We need to increase the knowledge around the IP value chain to help drive traction with marketers. There's some benefits like content reusability. The same shoot can deliver content for numerous art departments and be repurposed across different channels. And there's a lot of things like that the medium brings to the table that we sort of under leverage. And so, look, I think that's kind of my summary of the pain points. So I think we, as a company, we are strong supporters of the entire volumetric ecosystem and want everyone to succeed. There's a need for everyone in this growing market. Let's work together to drive awareness and traction of volumetric video. I think there's simple things like let's like and share each other's successes on social media and grow awareness together. Let's work on projects together, and let's support each other on this, as this medium grows. That's it for me. Hopefully I got the 5 minutes.
You did perfectly. And thank you so much for not just pointing to your work, but all of the pain points that many of us are experiencing. I think you've mentioned a number of them, not just capture quality, reliability, but also how we move together as an industry, how we support each other, and how we collaborate along the way. So I know that you've had some amazing collaborations over the last few years, and we're going to bring up one of those next. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm over the moon to be here. Very grateful to Ben, Evo, Julie, all the organizers who are helping make this happen today. Kamal, also hard act to follow. It's great to be speaking with you as a partner. And we'll be preaching to the choir / sounding like a broken record here, but we'll speak from our perspective at Scatter. So I'll share my screen briefly here. Great. Well, I want to start off ensuring that everyone has the full picture of what we bring to the volumetric video ecosystem. So by way of introduction, again, I'm James George, co-founder and CEO of Scatter. We have a product called Depth Kit, which by several measures is the world's most widely used tool for creating volumetric video. And we measure that by the number of creators that we've introduced to volumetric video through our tools over the years. In fact, Depth Kit in an earlier form was the first self-service volumetric video tool to be released into the open back in 2011 as an open source project for capturing volumetric video with the Kinect. And since then, we've continued to have a self-service and accessible strategy with our products and our positioning. And in terms of content created, naturally out of that, given that we have the most users who have used volumetric video through our product, the most breadth and diversity of content has been created with our products, and additionally has won, on top of that, some of the most prestigious awards in the industry. So I want to speak to first how we bring, how Scatter comes to this industry and the unique perspective that we have. So a little bit more on my background as co-founder and CEO. I'm very much a hybrid artist and creator. So a key point from my bio is that I was invited to be the first artist in residence at Microsoft Research in Seattle. And actually, that's where I met Adam Kirk, who you hear from momentarily, and that was over 10 years ago. That artist residency program is still going strong up there in Seattle. And the reason I was invited is because I'm one of the few practicing artists there was at the time with the technical expertise to work right along those high caliber researchers. And lo and behold, at that time, 10 years ago, some of the foundational work in volumetric video was being done both in research and the open source world. When we founded Scatter, we actually started as a content creation company, and we're building tools in the service of making our own projects, particularly virtual reality storytelling. And in fact, that's how I think I met many folks on this call. Rafa, I think we met through our Kickstarter in 2012. And so I think that's a flashpoint for several folks in the community. And we were filmmakers, the founding team. We needed the way to bring real people and their true stories into interactive 3D. And that's why we needed volumetric video. So we came very much from this point of a value system where art leads the need for invention of new tools. And the power of immersive media was so clear that it could be translated into these cinematic worlds in this concept that we call volumetric filmmaking, the blending of film and video games in immersive worlds. So we've continued to create virtual reality experiences over the years. Our first project, 0 Days VR, was the first 6 Degrees of Freedom project to win an Emmy Award in the news and documentary category. And how paradoxical is that a video game was awarded a news and doc Emmy, and that speaks to the elegance of using volumetric video within the these interactive environments, which until date have been mostly artificial. And even last year, we were nominated for our second Emmy with The Changing Same, a project about racial justice in America. But it's not just about our voice. The intention has always been from the beginning to release these tools widely. Our product Depth Kit has given birth to a really vibrant, creative community of other makers telling their story in the same fashion of volumetric filmmaking. And so this creative community has produced many titles. The lockup here shows other projects that other creators have produced that have gone on to win other Emmy Awards, Peabody Awards, and tour at the most prestigious film festivals and get distribution in a very traditional, original, interactive content fashion. But again, we're talking about something that may be more akin to storytelling in film than traditional video games. And what's so exciting now, and I think so relevant to the conversation today, is as a company, we've started to see the little tide pool of creative community that we built start to then spill over into these larger enterprise contexts. So here are some of our key customers that are really driving the business now. And the same craft that we built for volumetric video within creative storytelling is now applied to other use cases that you've already heard about from Denny today, for example. And Kamal, you were mentioning all these industry-specific use cases that we so desperately need to create better communication for. Things like simulation and training, corporate communications on the business side, and on the consumer side, sports, athletic analysis, and musical content. All of these things are really driven by that core vision that we all share, which is putting authentic human likeness into interactive 3D worlds. So just our core product, so everyone, the folks clear where we sit amongst all the wonderful contributors to the ecosystem today. We have self-service tools, all Adobe Creative Cloud, similar service model to HoloEdit. And then we also have cross-platform delivery. I'm getting the time check from Evo. So here's my prompt to the industry to be very concise. What we need to move this industry forward are more meaningful experiences that have the full breadth of experience, where the volumetric video is just one piece of a larger experience. We need to enable creators to produce content more rapidly, and we need to be able to allow, through standards and working together, large distribution channels like interactive social 3D platforms, so that we're not all fighting over different SDKs. And I know we're guilty of that ourselves. So that's my call to action. Thank you so much for your attention today.
James, thank you for all of the experiments you enable across the industry. I've been one of those Depth Kit hackers since 2012. So thank you for all you do for all of us, and for your leadership as a collaborator as well. It's really good to see you here. I believe we have Adam Kirk coming next, and I just want to see if we have Adam. Do we have your voice today?
How you doing?
I hear you. Are we seeing you as well? Let's just make sure.
I'm seeing myself. So
Awesome. All right. We're going to spotlight you, and then you will be our next speaker, 5 minutes for our Forma Vision. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, let me share my screen. I've just got a couple of slides that might be helpful here. Okay. Everybody got me okay? If I can see, yeah, I can see some nods. Thanks so much. So it's great to be here. I think in a lot of ways this is overdue. So thank you so much to all the people who are contributing by speaking here, and especially the people who are contributing by making this happen. It's really great to connect with everybody. I've spoken to a number of the speakers independently over the years. Like James said, you know, it's been over a decade. So good to see you, James, always. So I first got started, as James said, in roughly 2010, working on volumetric video. And what drew me to volumetric video was interactivity. You know, by virtue of being a 3D format, it forces you into this mode of interacting with the content in order to extract value out of it. And, you know, it's a very simple reason why, right? We live in a 3D world. We're used to interacting in 3D. In some ways, it's painful that we've had to tolerate 2D media for so long, right? And so it's great to be part of the community that's changing that. So at Forma Vision, we thought deeply about, you know, that interactivity and what it meant and how to really extract value out of the new type of media. And where we landed is that what we were particularly interested in is interactivity. And so for us, that specifically meant real-time volumetric video, which is entirely the focus of Forma Vision. And by the way, I want to put a pin in that, because I think what you're going to hear kind of across the panel is the number of different ways that people are tailoring their solution to different aspects of volumetric video. And I think this is a critical thing to get out of this panel today, right? You know, a new media format like volumetric video, it's common for people to ask what's it good for, right? And, you know, the dangerous answer is anything, right? It's like asking what video is good for. Like, just look at the number of places it's used. And so I think what you're going to hear, if you're listening carefully, is a lot of ways in which the different groups here are tailoring their products to a very specific use case for volumetric video. But taken together as a collection, you know, we've got a very robust set of tools that you'll be able to explore kind of across the companies here. So as I said, we're focused on real-time volumetric video. And what's the, you know, real-time interactive thing that you do all day long, every day? Well, at least if you're in certain industries, it's meetings. So that's the focus of Forma Vision. We've taken some of our, you know, our platform technology around volumetric video creation and streaming distribution and focused it entirely on meetings. And we're working on authentic communication in primarily enterprise settings. So to expand on the product just a bit, we've got a bunch of different ways to create holographic video. It all goes through a WebRTC based service, which of course WebRTC is the most common holographic video, the most common real-time communication system on the internet. We're using some amounts of WebRTC right now. And then it's viewable on any device. Most popular are head-mounted displays and mobile phones, but also doing some recent work with glasses-free 3D display technology here. I believe I saw some people from Looking Glass. So, you know, shout out to Looking Glass for producing a really great device. And additionally to being able to view on the, you know, Forma client on any particular device, we also have SDKs for people to create their own experience. We've done a lot of work to make it really easy for people to incorporate volumetric video into whatever they want to do, right? Because we know it's not real-time communication is not limited just to meetings. That's the application that we're most passionate about right now. But you know, in some ways, concerts can be considered meetings, right? Actually, you know, I think it's probably worth calling out a bit what people are really doing with it. Our most common use cases are our executive all hands. So that's a very popular one for people to get started with. Also doing a lot of small group meetings. One of the things about our technology is that we can render multiple holographic videos on low power devices. So you can actually have a true group meeting. You know, when we do our internal meetings here at Forma Vision, we have a day that we're all remote and we all call in using the service, and we're all sitting around a round table together having a conversation. So that kind of gets me back to my original point, which is
Adam, I'm sorry, we're out of time. It's Jill's turn. Jill, could you please turn on your video?
Yes. Adam, that was absolutely fascinating, though, and I hope that people will reach out to you if we have some ideas around ways that we can collaborate. Especially, you've opened up many potential doors there. I'm a big fan of your work, so thank you so much for being with us. And next we have Jill Boyce. Jill, you are coming to us to share a little bit about photography and 3D. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, so I'm the CEO of Vimmerse. Vimmerse has a service and platform that allows you to transform a photo into a 3D motion video. My own background is in video compression and video compression standardization for traditional 2D video. And then I got into multi-view video through MPEG standardization of the MPEG immersive video standard. This just shows kind of what Vimmerse does, is that you have as an input a regular photo, and then you can create a motion video, which is then an ordinary 2D video, but has this 3D motion effect with it. So this is actually a little bit of a pivot for Vimmerse. When we first started out, it would have been more in the traditional volumetric space of trying to do multi-view inputs and capture. We were using Kinect sensors with LiDAR depth. And actually, we were using depth kit. We worked a little bit with depth kit. But we ended up pivoting to having, instead of our input being this multi-view video and depth, to have a single image input with AI generated depth. And another thing that we changed is, instead of sending the 3D video down to the end user to be able to navigate and choose their 6-stop position, of the creator choosing the path of motion so that the viewer, they created the story that the viewer saw. And the reason we did this migration is because of the volumetric pain points that we saw. Capture is difficult and expensive. Arcturus already spoke to this point, but you need the multiple cameras, the depth sensors, the wired connections, the synchronization. The content preparation is difficult and expensive, and then the rendered video quality is poor. And I think some of the key reasons why it's poor is because the depth resolution is low and the depth quality is poor. And then the pose estimate, if you have multiple cameras, you need to know their poses, and that's not always correct. So why we pivoted is because we could have easier capture with just a normal camera, photo cameras, or even an AI-generated image as the input. Easier processing, we could do a single frame instead of multi-frame video, and then higher quality. We find that the AI depth is better and higher resolution than a LiDAR is. And by doing single image inputs instead of video, we didn't have to worry about the temporal consistency problems. But let me just, call to action. I really feel that AI is just really essential to be able to get better quality for volumetric. And so we as an industry need trained models for realistic volumetric video. And I know that there's a lot of companies that are doing AI related things and don't necessarily want to share them. But I think to move the industry forward, we do need to kind of work collectively to get better AI models. And so I encourage that we have a common effort to make multi-view video training data available to academic researchers so that we can encourage friendly licensing terms for commercial usages for the trained models. We see so much activity going on with NERF and with this generative AI, but we need the realism of real capture. But there's not good data sets out there for multi-view video, which I think if we had it, then we could encourage a lot more academic researchers to be working on it. So now that's it for me. I think hopefully I fit in my time.
You've done beautifully, Jill. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you giving us some context around why you chose to pivot and where those pain points led you as a developer and as someone who's trying to bring better tools out into the world. I really appreciate hearing that. And I just want to thank all of you who have been joining us up to this point. I believe Julie is going to be joining me at this stage. Julie Smithson, who is from the company Metaverse. Yes, great to see you. Hi.
I'm here.
So I believe you have been doing a process through all of our events of not just note-taking, but bringing together context and ideas and making sure that we capture many of those discoveries and sort of illuminating pieces of the puzzle. Could you share just a little bit of what you see and hear throughout this process?
Yeah, some great conversations. What I'm trying to do, and as I'm writing this, it's kind of funny because I'm like, AI could probably do this just as well as I could, and I want to see a report. I've actually got a Fireflies running at the same time, so we'll see what they come up compared with what I do. But what I am seeing is obviously there's a lot of the pain points of cost, expense, being at the forefront of every single conversation so far. So that to me has been a huge highlight. And I love Jill's call to action just now. And, collaboration of all the speakers is key as well. Like just working together and continuing doing what we're doing. I'm just
recording in progress
over and over again. So, I've got a little bit more to share at the end, and I'll do some more sense making, but some great talks so far, and looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you for all you do, Julie. It has been wonderful to be a partner in this contextualization process as we are looking for the patterns together.
Yeah, it's a great journey of learning for everybody, right? And the collaboration is key.
I just had the most unusual experience of a cat learning to turn on the television.
Oh,
who knew that that's a thing that can happen? And you're hearing Fury Road all of a sudden in the middle of our conversation today. Thank you for joining us, because media is full of glitchy moments where sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. It is wonderful to be here live with you today. Next, we have Malcolm joining us. Malcolm Zale is coming from Canon, and we are looking forward to hearing a little bit more from the hardware and technology side as well. Let's see, Malcolm, are you with us? Can I hear your voice?
Yeah, hi, great to be here.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to spotlight you for the next 5 minutes, and feel free to take it away.
Awesome. So I did not prepare any slides today. I'm so sorry, guys. Thank you, Evo, for that lovely introduction. Hi, my name is Malcolm Zale. I am with Canon USA, and I am part of the Free Viewpoint system team. And what we do is we build volumetric video of basketball games and other large-scale events in real time. And it's a really exciting time to be joining the volumetric industry, fresh out of college. And so there's clearly a lot of huge growth potential in this industry, and I can't wait to be a part of it. What we do at Canon, as I said, is we right now we're building 3D models of basketball games in real time, and right now our use case is shooting replays for broadcast and live broadcast. So you make a cool dunk, and then you get any perspective you want of the dunk, and that's piped into the traditional broadcast. And what we're aiming to do is kind of democratize that experience to the consumer at large, so that you at home with your headset or your iPhone or whatever device you wish could be viewing this volumetric experience and experiencing from whatever perspective you so wish. And we've kind of cracked the in-house experience, the going straight to broadcast experience. We have that working, and that's a nice tight solution that we can box up and move around. What's proving to be difficult is the whole scaling of this experience so that we can get it to consumers. And that's difficult for a number of reasons, right? there's the hardware and just sheer data throughput of it. It's a very expensive, computationally intensive operation. And then for you on your phone to be able to choose perspectives is very intensive, right? But there's also the issue of consumers right now, like people my age, do not consume volumetric video. There's no real market for it. And so creating that market and creating that desire for something that people don't really know they're missing, or they don't know they want, is proven to be, and is going to prove to be, I think, a challenge, because there's nothing wrong with the way 2D content is made and consumed and distributed, but it's not the full picture. And so convincing people that they need this fuller picture and fuller understanding, I think, is really where we need to go. So as much as standards and evolving technology and software is going to be extremely useful in the progression of this technology, I think just as useful and just as essential is going to be really showing the consumer and the everyday person why volumetric is great and all the use cases it can present to them. Because studios and giant VFX people already know why volumetric's great. It's a phenomenal jumping off point for anything you want to do with VFX down the line. But for me to consume volumetric video, I mean, outside of my job, I haven't done it. So I think we really need to do more to kind of, even though we're in the early stages still of volumetric, be getting that content to the consumer and showing people how cool it is and how much they need it.
Malcolm, I think it's absolutely fascinating and smart to start with sports as the 3D experience, right? That full body experience is so valuable to the audience in
Absolutely.
sports, right? Being that close to the athlete and seeing how they move. That is a unique value proposition when you're thinking about volumetric video, right? So we've talked a little bit about gaming and we've talked a little bit about media production, but sports is another way in which we are just starting to engage the public in this space. What are you seeing as those sort of wins and low-hanging fruit related to sports and volumetric?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely a lot of challenges posed with it. I mean, it's a great market in that there's already millions of people every day who are watching sports, and so we're not trying to sell them a whole new pie. It's a different way of eating the pie, so that's really great. But sports in particular is awesome because in addition to just selling the consumer on it, you also get to sell the teams in the league, and there's phenomenal things you can do with volumetric video in sports, like player analytics and performance analytics. And I think there's invaluable experiences to be gained from coaching staff and game staff, and that there's now a whole new way to look at the game and really see things that you couldn't see from your sideline view or your traditional 2D broadcast view. And so really, it's just how can we get the most information to people who really need it is kind of what it becomes. And I think volumetric video is the best way of doing it, and it's available right now. So I don't know why more teams aren't doing it.
It makes a lot of sense for the basketball player or even a golfer to be able to maximize their movements this way and to see themselves.
Absolutely. And you can look at 2D video of yourself during a game, you're taking your swing, but it's not going to compare to being able to orbit around yourself and really see every minute detail of how you behave and how you move and how you operate. And I think that is an incredible value that volumetric video has for the industry as a whole.
Well, it seems like, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And we are going to be bringing up Simon Thompson next. And
thank you.
Both of you are really leading in this sports space. Simon from Trickshot. Can I hear you, Simon?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? All right.
Perfect. I'm going to give you the floor.
Fantastic.
The next 5 minutes are yours.
Thanks so much. So yes, I'm Simon, the founder of Trickshot, relatively new company, but I think almost everyone on this call knows Denny. And I used to work with Denny at Verizon. We're in the mixed reality team there called Riot, and worked in kind of XR for kind of 8-9 years before starting Trickshot. And I think the reason that I created Trickshot, we are a sports focused company that's interested in building those kind of those new experiences for the fans. So we don't think fans just want to kind of lay the game that they see on the table in front of them and see it in augmented reality. I think that they want much more than that in the future, and that's what people are going to be wanting to create their own content with the sports game. They'll even want to be able to say, I could have scored that, I could have shot that 3-pointer, let me get out of the way, here's a digital ball, and I'm going to try and shoot it myself. We think that that's where fans, the kinds of experiences that fans will want, far more immersive, far more engaged in the sport themselves. And those kind of fan experiences are only possible with volumetric data. So we're really proud to have worked with Canon, with sports teams like the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers during the playoffs. And we took their incredible volumetric data from Canon that Canon captured, and it enabled us to transport the game to futuristic stadiums and give the fans camera angles right in the middle of the pitch that they wouldn't in the court that you wouldn't normally be able to see, right? And they loved it. And a great example is we saw 7 times more views and engagements than traditional highlights. So the general consensus is that we're onto something, you know, like I really feel like there's momentum between sports and volumetric, and it's heading in the right direction. And we've ourselves and Canon have been approached by a whole host of different teams and leagues. And our message to the sports industry has been really simple, that 3D rights are going to become one of their most valuable assets, right? But they also understand that there's a journey to go on. And I think this is the whole make all the boats rise topic, is that you've got this creative, technical, and monetization challenges that we've got until it's the point where everyone's having those experiences that we're all desperate to give to people, but we're not there yet. So like, how do we improve those 3 challenges: creative, technical, and monetization? So I think first time we've been invited to this, and I don't want to kind of talk negatively about some of the amazing people here, and I'm not going to do that. But I think sometimes as an industry, we get stuck in this kind of echo chamber of the more technical stuff that we're doing, and we'll do these amazing technical things that, if we showed it to each other, we'll be like, oh, whoa, look at the resolution improvement of that, or whatever it may be, right? But if when we're demonstrating and we're saying this is something that we can do, if you're not going that extra mile and you're not taking it to the point of, well, this is the user experience and this is how people will actually be using it, then it's like getting your shopping, but it's not being delivered to your drawer. It's being delivered to the end of the street, and then that's not good for anyone, right? So I think, like, yes, it's more of a job for all of us to put a bit more design effort, a bit more user experience, maybe partner with other people. So then when we've got these kind of breakthroughs, and like we all see it on LinkedIn every week, there's something new that one of us or other people have done, is how do we make it not look like that kind of academic, like this is something that's happened, but actually make it of, well, look, guys, this is actually what it's going to mean. This is something that I can send to my mum, and she's going to actually understand what it means. I think that we all need to have that kind of that mindset, so we don't get lost in the jargon. And when I'm talking to people, I don't even use the word volumetric data because people don't understand it. I'll say 3D data because I'm trying to simplify it down, and that's another kind of challenge that we've got. But there's benefits of leaning into that creative side as well, I think, because it sometimes can hide some of the technical things where we're not quite there in the visualization. You can add some of the kind of bits, and you can lean into the strengths that XR that can give. The second challenge, I think, for us is around technical. And for me, I know that this is so easy for me to say because I don't do the capture, right? But for me, us getting out of the studio and into the stadiums is going to be huge for the industry. I know everyone wants to get there. I know you can't tell players, oh, can you make that play again because we haven't properly coordinated all of our cameras. It's a very different situation than a studio. But when we're out there, then once we're into these environments, and once we've cracked some of those kind of technical challenges which are huge, I understand that. That's when I think we're going to have a huge turning point, and that's when we're going to see more of those use cases coming through, more of those revenue streams, which kind of brings me to monetization. Now, I can tell you that there's a huge appetite and excitement about what's possible. So when we've been doing this work, people have been coming to us saying, how do we do it? And there's so much that is possible there, but you've got to kind of line them all up. And it all lines up to the very first point that I said, which is about that user experience. So if we can't prove to someone that doesn't understand all of the technical stuff that we do, that there's a user experience there, and we can't say, this is how your fan is going to love it, then everything else kind of falls away. So we've always got to keep that chain going right the way through with whatever we do.
Across the board, building the value proposition across the industry. Thank you so much, Simon. That was very thoughtful. And I hope people will reach out for a collaboration with Trickshot. And next, thank you so much for joining us today. We have Wild Capture. Will Driscoll, are you here? And can I hear you?
Right, I'm here.
Excellent. The next 5 minutes are yours.
Appreciate it. Thank you, 𝑎𝑝𝑜. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Ben, Terry, everybody. While Capture loves to be in this community. I personally have been in it for quite a while. I was with Intel, where we did the Wild West demo a handful of years ago, and participated in some of that in the camera sort of football stuff, but it's not quite as cool as the Canon and Trickshot stuff I'm seeing. So I'm glad it's evolving from there. Wild Captures, basically we formed Wild Capture to remove the pain point. So this topic's the perfect topic for us because we're learning a lot from where are all your pain points and how can we help you? Our customers are come from the film, TV, interactive, gaming, fashion, and training, etc. And we offer them cost and speed value. Right now, with the SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild, everybody out of work, worried about digital likeness. We've been ahead of that curve, working with agencies and organizations to help protect actor likeness when they enter these captures, having a rights management system with trackable assets. So that's core to what we're trying to deliver on our software-enabled service platform. And we're agnostic to all the different solutions, and we help from acquisition all the way to delivery. And we have a patented or patent pending proprietary solver technology that tracks any raw data or temporal data, and it creates a singular data set. And we deliver it as a one-size-fits-all asset, a open USD format. And our technology pairs with CG simulations, animation. You can add cloth, hair, props, etc. So we've engaged the visual effects industry with crowds and optimizing multiple variants of singular characters. And pretty much from what we saw as the pain point is creators don't like changing topology. So that was the first thing we aimed to fix, was have an asset that goes from capture to a character asset that you can use in a production pipeline. You can have physical interaction with it. And so that's what our solver offers. And moving forward beyond that, delivering it where you can crunch the data sets down and find ways to deliver textures faster as well. Because as we all probably know, delivery in a lot of the heavy data pipelines is quite a bit. And so we've engaged the creator economies directly. The other problem we've seen is people are concerned, is this AI? And how we sell it is, no, this is actually footage, and it's footage that you can manipulate with traditional film practices. So that's how we've engaged filmmakers who come from traditional 2D film. They want to enter the new medium. They want to enter interactive story. This is most certainly that next step. And so we're looking to work with all of you to find ways similar to what Kamal was saying. This industry is very rich with a lot of ideas, and if we can come together to find ways to streamline them, which the VFA has clearly made some good strides with, we like that there's a lot of collaboration going on, and our doors open as well for that sort of collaboration. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate that. That was Wolf and Driscoll from Wild Capture. And next we have Alex Porter. Alex, I hope I can hear you. It's great to see you again.
I know this is like a really fun family reunion.
I'm always happy to see you,
Uh-huh.
Alex.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen and pop open this deck. Wait, if it wants to allow me to. Says up screen sharing, but it won't let me up. Share first. Try again. Share that screen. All right. How are we looking? Can you see it? Showing the entire demo.
I see you. We're seeing you inside your 3D landscape tool. Yes, full screen mode.
There we go. All right. I was not playing nicely with me. So I'm Alex Porter, CEO of MetaTr Labs, and we all know that really what's happening is the evolution of human creativity, right? We're seeing this massive, wonderful opportunity to go from reality to fantasy to experience and combine all of these things in a magical and wonderful way. But in this landscape, there are a huge needs for 3D content. They have to be really high quality. They have to be small files. You have to have easy universal access, which means the tools need to be easy to use, right? Which we know has been a challenge over the course of this. Automation is key because these are, again, long processes, really challenging creative, pipelines. And then ultimately quality control is really important. Actually making sure that you're consistently getting the same type of quality out of your content. And then of course, looking at it holistically, 3D data is across all the spectrums, right? We look at mod because we are a tool set. We look at content sort of across the spectrum and how we can actually combine all of these things together, right? You have your digital people, your digital places, and your digital objects. But how are we actually creating scenes, right? Volumetric typically does not stand completely on its own. Typically, there are combinations of different types of assets. And so making those pipelines and pieces more effective together as well is really important. And as we all know, this is going across industries. And so we're not only having to, create opportunities for people to learn and understand what the technology is, we're also having to cross terminology. And we don't have that standardization of the vernacular yet, which is really challenging. And so we're seeing use cases in all kinds of I don't even have sports on here. Obviously, sports is a very important one too, that I think is missing from that. In our world, we sit much more in the AI bucket, right? Everyone's like, you do AI, and I'm like, not that AI. I mean, I'm all for, generative AI, but we also, we look at it as a tool to help enable and extend our team capabilities, right? NERFs is one way that we're seeing an opportunity in this world to really enhance the volumetric video pipeline, speed up production and processing, and the ability to play back, right? Whether it's just that initial first view, or as the technology actually continues to extend, we are seeing the opportunity to actually create these 3D worlds and these 3D performances that we can interact with the way that we are doing now with volumetric. We are focused pretty heavily on the optimization side of the world. So it really is around how are you creating those tools and pipelines and user interfaces that make it super simple for anyone to access this and make their content look high quality. And just an example of a fun combo technology, because much like we're seeing these industries sort of intersect in really interesting ways that they haven't done before, we're also seeing technologies intersect in ways that they haven't done before. And I think that it's important for us to all, look at it holistically in the way that we can work together, we can collaborate together with each other as, people that are in the volumetric industry, as well as folks that are, sort of outside of it. And that is me.
You kept it to a beautifully tight 4 minutes, Alex. Thank you so much. How much has this industry changed in the last few years for you? When you and I first met, we were both very XR focused, and now it has grown so much.
Yeah, we actually are a bit more on the film side now as well, but we are seeing things open back up massively in all of these industries, and especially right at this very moment with the strikes and the sort of pushback against AI. I think that it's a good conversation to be having about how and where these technologies can be applied in multiple ways. We're not trying to replace people, we're trying to augment people and make them more effective.
Well, I appreciate all of the hard work that you do and making producers like myself look good and then making sure that the end product looks great, that workflow works for all of those different types of content to come together. Thank you, Alex. And next I believe have Addie. Can I hear you?
Yes.
Perfect. The next 5 minutes are yours. Thank you. And tell us more about Digital Nation.
Hi, I'm Addie Reiss from Digital Nation Entertainment. I've been leading the volumetric capture studio here in LA. We are operating on a Mantis Vision volumetric capture stage, which I was spearheading the development of 5 years ago before coming here. Essentially having a decade long of experience in this field from its very inception. Well, we're seeing in this industry, we're seeing adoption, maybe not be as fast as we hope for it to be, but we're seeing platforms coming in, headsets, displays. So we are at this stage very certain and sure that immersive world and entertainment are coming in, and the medium adoption is imminent for immersive and volumetric content. And from our end, we were working on creating and perfecting our volumetric pipeline, essentially bringing it to a stage where it's mature, from a high quality images to delivery formats and plugins, and as well as advanced processing algorithms and creative tools. So at this stage, we have a medium that is ready and ripe for creatives to take on. However, as much as the science behind the volumetric capture and the immersive media is hard, creativity is even harder. And we identify the adoption friction point at this moment being creativity. And this is a unique moment in time where essentially our call here is, and the message is very clear: volumetric pipeline is mature, the tools are ready, and the image is fantastic. And essentially, it's just waiting adoption from the creative community. It's a unique opportunity to take on a new storytelling medium and make it work for your story, for your type of industry. The tools and the community and the ecosystem are there and ready. What we need is creative people putting their mindset, their story, their authenticity into their storytelling delivered authentically with volumetric capture and such technologies. As a studio, we are about to take on a very interesting journey, producing a VR featurette. It's going to be a 6DoF VR experience that we are producing, calling Lights. And where volumetric capture here at Denny, our studio, is going to be the key tool to deliver the performance of A-list actors into a VR headset and an immersive sci-fi thriller piece. For the community here, if there's anything that we wish to call out, is to keep the commitment for the authenticity of this medium. This is where volumetric video stands out. We are creating something unique. We are preserving performance that humans relate to more than anything else. The sense of intimacy, the sense of a presence that you get with volumetric capture is unparalleled with anything else, any other media that we are aware of. And if there's anything, it's for both creators and technologists to endorse it. And remembering that this is not only a science, this is also an art form, and as such, perfecting your expertise in bringing beautiful images is vital. Naturally, AI is something to endorse, and the machine learning capabilities are there for us, essentially, to endorse and take on. And essentially, I think that this is the path for mass adoption of the medium. And that's essentially our message from DNE.
Excellent. Well, that is Beautiful work. I look forward to seeing you on set in LA soon. This is really beautiful. You are touching on many of the beautiful touchstones for me in terms of history and culture and art and why we do this work, why it's important. So I am going to now bring up Gur, and Gur, you are coming to us, Gurtan from Mantis Vision. Is that correct? Have I pronounced your name correctly?
Yes. Yes. My name is Gur Yabitan. I'm CEO and founder of Mantis Vision. The company was established in 2005, challenging on doing depth sensing. But in 2016, we launched our volumetric capture solution in SIGGRAPH, including live streaming of volumetric. That time it was point cloud. And I had to say that 8 years passed, and I was expecting volumetric to be much more engaging to the industry than it is. And when I'm looking in terms of what was the gap, what is the reason that volumetric though was creating huge wow effect. I remember time after time bringing people into our VR, was the Vive at that time, and people were walking and seeing immersively people in very high quality captures. And the wow effect was great, but still the industry was very slow to adapt. And if I have to be not just putting my wish list, but also what is my judgment, I think that some of it has to do with things we could do, and some of it is bigger than us. So the first and the most important one that is we needing to have is the wide adoptions on the client side, on the receiving side. So I think we've been many years waiting for Apple to release their glasses, and knowing that when Apple launches something, then the industry follows. And I think that's the most important part, and that's on the device level and still not consumer, but I think that's a very big step. And the other side is the ecosystem, which is mostly in terms of what we talk today in terms of Metaverse and other solutions that goes and not just give you a way to publish something with a link, but have a way to collaborate, create a living ecosystems. And this is where I believe that augmenting the world with the Web3 Metaverse environment comprises with volumetric, but not just as is volumetric, not just as capture, is one of the leading parts. We're working with this on some new opportunities with one promising company just gone out of stealth, I think a week ago, called Cosmic Wire. And I think that that's one of the challenges, opening up these kind of ecosystems. And the second one, I want to relate to what Addie was showing. You've seen an amazing result, captures, and it's clear that even if you have the best platform in the world in terms of technology and the content will not be interesting enough, or the user experience will not be fulfilling enough, then all the technology in the world would not justify it. And one of the challenges, as this said, is creating good content is challenging, not just because you don't have great people doing it. Some of it has to go to the affordability and flexibility, usability of the tools of handling volumetric content. So if you're going into being an expert in that field and working well, you could do amazing looking quality content. But some of the challenges has to go into affordabilities. So for example, when we started, that was taking hours of hours to do a 1 minute capture. Now we have ability to captures in terms of kiosk studio. Maybe I'll just share what I'm talking about. So Kiosk Studio is basically enable you to put the complex studio solutions into something that can go to an office room or retail space, both producing very high quality volumetric, but also can do it real time, streaming that elsewhere. And that opens up the ability for some users to show one we're working with Denny to show. And this is, if you capture just one person at the kiosk, you can create a composition. Each one was captured independently, but you can actually have 500 people captured in one day. Each one have his own volumetric clip, and just replacing the person inside with affordable kiosk to get that kind of solution. So affordability is important part in terms of creativity, because if that was too expensive to handle that only on a AAA budget, then you could not afford of doing that kind of things. Second part has to go in terms of flexibility of the volumetric capture. One of the problems of volumetric content is this has to go into, let's say, video pipeline is very well known and easy to handle. But if you're trying to get this into real volumetric, then usually it is difficult. It's heavy, it's plugins into some environments. It's not as easy as you could do with computer graphic characters and the target. And this is also something we do in a collaboration with Cosmic Wire, is exactly that, taking volumetric captures, making them with the exact motions and geometry to do with character animation. And that opens up ability to do personalized gaming, that opens up ability to do morphing, redressing, putting yourself inside of a metaverse in a low bandwidth and still have a way to preserve a lot of the things that will not be just rig animation. So part of the thing is making it affordable, and there will be more creators that will enjoy it and do a better job by having much more tools to afford and not just be limited by the pipeline itself.
Got it. So Mantis, it seems like you are helping to bring these tools not just to the AAA side, but to the rest of us in the industry who are perhaps not gifted with a nine-figure budget. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. As a producer, thank you for your hard work in this space. And Julie, thank you for joining us again. Julie?
Yeah, sure. I'll just give a quick summary. Thanks a lot, Gur, for joining us today. Some of the things I keep hearing. First of all, authenticity is the word of the day. I think that's said by every single person that has spoken already today. So there's some more stuff around that, but that, as well as creativity and content, distribution of content, there's definitely calls to action there. And one, call out that I wasn't expecting, but I think we need to really drive into is the need for a more standardization around the terminologies that we're using. There's so many acronyms, there's so many things that have the same acronym as something else. And I think that if anything that we can do out of here, that's a very good start. So we all have the same language that we're speaking. So I do have some more points, but I'll save those to the end, as I know we have to keep this train going because there's a lot more information to come. So
right, yeah. We're doing a great job of keeping the train on time today. Thank you so much, Julie, for all of that context. And you're right, we're pointing to authenticity and what is most uniquely human and beautiful about these art forms, because they are culture and art and history and what is most beautiful about our lives together. So thank you for all of you who have joined us and shared a bit of your capture technology or your hardware or your methods, your approaches to collaboration as well. We are going to be welcoming up Rafa Pajes next. I hope I have not totally botched your name there, Rafa.
No,
you're coming from Volgrams, right? Yours, thank you.
You can see my screen, right?
I can.
Yeah, so thanks a lot. I think this reunion is pretty amazing. I think I've never seen so many people in the space together in one virtual room, I guess. I wanted to bring a positive note just to get started, right? So my background is science. I did a PhD in computer vision and 3D reconstruction. So I was already dealing with volumetric video. At that time, I was calling it 4D video, which again, we can go back to the conversation about the acronyms and the terms. But back in that day, and that was, I guess, that less than 10 years ago, it was very, very complicated to get until a point as where we are right now. So if you see that there's so many companies here in this call, plus some others that are out there working with volumetric video, volumetric capture in general, it's because the technology has really advanced a lot. That doesn't mean that we're there yet, of course. And I think that a good example of how much we have progressed in this time is Arcturus in particular. I always say that if if there's enough business for a company to build, a tool that's basically for editing, post-processing, and publishing volumetric video, is that there's enough content, right now to work. And I think that they play a very important role in the whole space. So Volograms, we're an Irish company. I am not Irish, as you can guess by my name and my accent, but Irish company, and we started doing also volumetric capture a few years ago. We're trying to do it with simple setups, only with 10, 12 cameras instead of the 100 cameras that we were kind of used to. So we did that for a couple of years, but then at some point we decided to go one step further and actually do it in a more disruptive way, which was by just using one single camera, right? One single viewpoint. So you just record from one single angle, and then we use AI to be able to get the full 3D model. So all the 3D models that you see here were generated with the image that you have on top. So you see there's no controlled environment. It's indoors, outdoors, sometimes easier, sometimes a little bit more complicated. So the purpose of doing this was actually to bring these tools to more people, because one of the things that we had seen was that there's a lot of technical complexities. There's a problem with price. There's a problem with you have to go to wherever the studio is. But also there was a lot of spaces that wanted to start using volumetric, but they didn't have a tool to get started relatively easily. Even solutions that like depth kit that require a depth sensor and everything, where they're still kind of for the experts. You need to know what you were doing. And so we're saying, okay, there needs to be a solution that is as simple as a video camera, and I know that we're all being very critical about what people are using it for, or we need more people to use it. But if you think back like 10, 15 years ago, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, there was no Snapchat. Basically no one, or only if you were an expert, and there's a lot of experts in this call, were able to actually create a proper video, like a proper production, knew how to use Adobe Premiere or any of this. We are in that stage right now for volumetric. So we need to bring these tools to as many people as possible, because that means that there will be new creator economies based on solutions like this. So just a little bit more about what we do. From one photo, we do 3D models, and basically we run a lot of deep learning and AI in the background. So we do semantic segmentation, identifying different body parts, different clothing items, both in 2D and in 3D, photometric normal estimation. We also able to get the back of the person, if you were wondering, just by looking at the person from the front. And some of the things that we've been doing that now is also experimenting with stable diffusion and with other more advanced technologies, or generative AI in general, which allows us to change completely, the texture of a specific part of the mesh. So we can do preserve face and hair, like in this example, but now give me the rest of the body with the texture of a Wonder Woman or a policewoman or something like that. So this is basically to continue building creative tools that consumers, or let's say all kinds of creators, will eventually want to use. And I said that we were initially doing captures in the studio, so we've actually trained with our own data, and go back to what Joe was saying about sharing the data and making it available. So I know that that's actually a really big problem, something that is very complicated to do. And again, just to wrap up, what I wanted to say is that one of the objectives that we have is to bring this to other spaces where traditionally they wouldn't have even thought about it, but now they can test it with their own phones. They can do it with just a single video, so they can start playing with it. So we've done projects in all kinds of spaces, but we want to expand it to even more. We don't. I refuse to be focused on one single type of client, because what we want is to make this as affordable and accessible as possible. One of my favorites is, for instance, this all football player, soccer, as you guys would say, because this works with all photos too. Doesn't have to be captured with new photos right now. And that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Rafa. That was fantastic. And you kept it right on time. I really appreciate that. I look forward to figuring out how we can collaborate together in the future. And I believe we have Ben joining us next from Evercoast. Ben, are you here?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. The next 5 minutes are yours.
Great, thanks.
I'm having trouble finding you. Is your video on, Ben?
It should be.
We're not seeing you, Ben. We're just getting.
Okay, 1 second. There we go.
All right, screen share.
I'm going to try to do this in ball cap.
Excellent.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Great. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ben Nunez. I'm the CEO at 𝑓𝑟𝑎𝑡𝑒. Very briefly about 𝑓𝑟𝑎𝑡𝑒, we provide a truly end-to-end platform for the capture and streaming of volumetric video. We use cost-effective components to deliver hardware solutions using stuff you can buy online. We package it all up into beautiful and easy to use software to create and stream high-quality volumetric. We give unlimited local rendering, high-performance cloud rendering, CDN-based VOD streaming, ultra-low latency live streaming, game engine SDKs, APIs. It's all there. It's all delivered via an entirely SaaS and web-based product. The capability is really truly mobile. The system can kind of go anywhere in the world at the drop of a dime, set up quickly, and capture high-quality volumetric. We went into Ukraine, most notably, to capture President Zelensky in a war zone, so we can truly go anywhere. But as amazing as that was, it's not a business model. Or at least let's hope that capturing heads of state in war zones is not a business model. Our industry has long been rooted in sort of one-offs and proofs of concept, which are great while things are emerging. But as the industry in and around us matures, we need to empower content creators across really a spectrum of vertical markets to produce volumetric video day after day, every day. Using volumetric technology is an important means of creating content. And we need to drive that narrative that volumetric is at the heart of our 3D future. It's taking off now because it is, and it's not about the hurdles or the challenges that lie ahead. Roadblocks are always there in frontier tech, and it's really about the enormous opportunities and growth we can collectively drive forward today. At 𝑓𝑟𝑎𝑡𝑒, we're having our best year ever, coming off our best year ever, and we've been more than doubling our revenue every year, driven by SaaS and cloud usage from enterprise clients using volumetric video on a consistent basis. So corporate training, medical training, physical therapy, entertainment and media companies, telecommunications, music, sports, marketing and advertising, even 2D virtual production, research institutions, educational institutions all over the world, AR/VR developers all over the world. We have active clients in every single one of those industries. And I think what my call out to the industry is to talk about those use cases, and that while technical capability and technique is all super interesting, I love talking about it, love to geek out about it, but it's mainly only interesting, I think, to us and to other just people that like to geek out about technology. And whether we're using traditional volumetric reconstruction, a NERF, a completely AI-based hallucination, a rigged Mixamo animation, whatever it is, why do people want it? Why do they want it at scale? Why do they want to see it all the time? What value does it add? Why is it better than other forms of media? And that's what I'm hoping we as a community can all be evangelizing. And we need to be talking about sort of those real use case adoptions, and that will drive industry-wide growth. And I think I'm super happy to be here. I think by simply listening to everybody, simply by doing this whole event today, and by getting the major players in volumetric to talk about what we're all doing in one fell swoop, which is each of us is sharing what we're up to, our traction, our progress, what we're really seeing in the market. It's going to give a solid picture of the state of volumetric. And I guess I'm here to say that the state of our volumetric union is strong. And thanks for having me.
Well, your innovation is certainly strong, and thank you so much, Ben. This has been fantastic from 𝑓𝑟𝑎𝑡𝑒. Thanks for showing us how you make it work. And next we have Hayes Megaman from 8i. Hayes, can I hear you?
My bad. I'm sorry. I spotlighted Richard. Hayes, my apologies. I got Richard on. Would you, if you wouldn't mind?
I wanted to go before Richard. That was my main goal for the entire event. Oh man, go ahead, go for it.
Hayes, do we have your video? Excellent.
Yeah, I had a glib intro. I said, the best part of this is that Richard is forced to listen to me because he goes after me in this. So anyway, a joke. Yeah, well, it's interesting. I was thinking about this last night. I think I started at 8i 7 years ago this week, and I heard somebody earlier, the gentleman from Sony, go, "We're at the very beginning." And I said, "If this is the very beginning, my gray hair and my reading glasses would like to beg to differ a little bit in volumetric, but it's all right. We're all coming from different angles." A lot of interesting things said today. I echo a lot of them. My biggest thing that just we at 8i we've done point cloud formats. We've done portable stages, consumer cameras, single view, multi-view, real time, not real time, sports. DoD trainings over the years, all sorts of stuff. And while that's interesting, I think, as a few people have said, so what, right? At the end of the day, nothing's been sort of mass adopted where you're making, millions and millions and millions of dollars a year in revenue. And that's really, at the end of the day, in a business, to some degree, at all levels, that's the goal. So I think the fact that we were going through a difficult market is good for volumetric in some ways, because it enables us to, or it makes us have to sort of focus on what's actually going to work, what can actually scale large, can be a large scale operation or business with volumetric. And what I see in that is more so, if we're thinking about strategically, I think the industry needs some consolidation, perhaps not within volumetric, but across technologies, to deliver a compelling end-to-end product that I suspect delivers content to consumers, less so on the enterprise side. So for me, in particular, that's what I'm focused on. And it's irritating to some degree, because I've been thinking and doing the same thing for years and years and years, but the tech's never been able to really cash the check, if you will. When I first started 8i, even my original interview, I got a misconception of what the tech was capable of at that time. And it's really been sort of a journey of getting the tech to actually work in the ways that it's been promised to work over many years, to get to where I want to go, or I've wanted to go since I started with it. But as some people said, I don't think it's a tech problem so much anymore. There is some bit of like, it is what it is. If the expectation is like this is going to replace red digital cinema cameras for feature film, I think that's a tough one. But that's a tough ask. But there is an element of like, it is interesting in certain use cases now, and it's been kind of proven over and over again. But it's kind of who wants to bet on that, on those content verticals, and just go after it to the exclusion of all else, right? If you're running a volumetric video company, the problem is, in my opinion, over the years, is like, how do I do something to the exclusion of all else? Where if you say, hey, I want to do a training, you say, I'm not going to do it. And those are so for me, that's the main thing, is like, you kind of, at some point in whatever we're doing, whether it's collaborative or not collaboratively, you have to sort of say, I'm just going to go after this use case or this vertical, and I may be wrong, but I'm going to do it to the exclusion of all else and see what happens. And I think that's kind of where I see things now for us. So I'm interested. I see some cool stuff being made by other people too. Like that real time, I did a real time at a Mobile World Congress last year, like kind of similar to what we just saw, where I spoke on a panel from LA in Spain, and really awesome, right? So what? You don't see anybody doing it. It's not mass adopted. So I think for me, it's really just, I've been in this long enough. I've launched enough apps and websites and content things to see what people watch and what is interesting. I know what the actual limitations of the tech. I can be honest with myself and say, like, look, there's some things that are just promises, and that's all they are. But there are things that do work, that and whether I like it or not, like, I need to step on that stuff to the exclusion of the other stuff. Like, do I want to do DoD trainings? And like, yeah, of course, like, they're big contracts, you make a ton of money, and they're relatively easy. But that's not really how you get big, right? It's something else. So I just I'm really I like to see all these folks. A lot of us have been doing this a while competitively. I think getting a bunch of people who start doing startups and entrepreneurs to collaborate, it's kind of like we're not the focus group for collaboration. Like, this is like, I don't like anybody to tell me what to do. Is basically otherwise I'd be doing a role where that was part of it. So it'll be interesting to see if there is that. But I do think, look, if you think something's going to work, just do it and exclude all the other stuff. What do you got to lose? That's kind of what I'm looking at, right? Like, let's just rock out what we think is going to be cool and leave it at that. And some other people's points, like, I don't think talking about the tech gets anywhere. It's like, what can you put in consumers' hands? They don't care like what format it is and whether it's 3D, 4D, 6D. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter to them. It's just, is it cool and can you sell ads or whatever it is on the business model side? So interesting stuff. I'm really interested to hear what Richard has to say.
Hey, thank you. And Richard, it's great to see you as well. Thank you for helping us reduce the jargon and make things as human as possible as we're approaching these topics together. Richard Broadbridge from 4D Views. The next 5 minutes are yours.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Hayes, for that lovely introduction. Always good to see you and to see everyone else who's here. I'm Richard Broadbridge. I'm from 4D Views. And thanks to the team for inviting me to participate today in this event. It's been interesting so far. There's a lot of familiar faces here, a lot of familiar voices. For those who we don't know or haven't seen for a while, as Kamal suggested, come and see us at the SIGGRAPH in a couple of weeks or some of the other events coming up. 4D Views is a French company. We're tucked away in the French Alps where we do pixels and triangles, and meshes and volumetric during the week, and we go out hiking and do things, paragliding and so forth on the weekends. We build the 𝑎𝑝𝑜𝑙�𝑜𝑔𝑖𝑒𝑠, which is a high quality volumetric capture system. So we provide the camera rig, the software, the installation, the training, and we help people set up sort of studios around the world that allow them to do their own sort of autonomous capture and content creation. And when we're not setting up new studios, we focus a lot on R&D, getting more results from those pixels that are coming in from the cameras. We do algorithmic work. We integrate feedback from partner studios. And of course, we're looking and playing with things like AI NeRF and seeing when those technologies and others will be appropriate to put in the pipeline, when and where to put them in, and when and where to keep them out, because they may or may not bring certain advantages. So we'll see how that develops. I think it's clear from people who've spoken before that we have a demand problem. We've had growth in this market. We've been doing this now for going on 20 years, which is a little longer than I expected. It's been an interesting road, and it seems to have been a linear growth road all along. The recent economic slowdown didn't help much. We had reports from various partner studios around the world about sort of a slowdown for several months. Things seem to be picking up, which is encouraging people back on track with their projects, with their creation, and with their cash flows. I have my perspective on what I think we need to be doing, what we've tried to do, but I thought I would reach out to our partner studios in Asia, Europe, and North America and see what they thought. What are their pain points? What do they think the calls to action should be? And they came back to me with things which probably will sound familiar, but we've already heard, things we've been trying to do, others have been trying to do. The first one is we all need to evangelize more with content creators. We have personally been doing this now for almost a decade and a half, about a little more than a decade and a half, going on 17, 18 years, presenting in public. And we still have creators who don't recognize volumetric for what it is. They don't see the advantages. Some people confuse it with mocap. They confuse it with 2D green screen capture. And I think this lack of knowledge brings them easily to a moment of uncertainty and to a perception of risk. And if you're doing a content project where you're pushing the boundaries with your story, with your tech, with a complicated post-production pipeline, then this risk slows them down, makes them think, well, I have so much uncertain things in my creative process, maybe I should stay away from an entirely new tech. So we need to be talking more about the advantages. People have told us that we need to work more on image quality. And I thought, oh, can't we take a little break from image quality? And the answer is apparently no. Keep working on image quality. It's not comparable with 2D and may never be, but needs to get as close as possible. Today's quality has opened many use cases we've seen from the various speakers, but others are earlier in the cycle and they're trying to get in, trying to get started, trying to get the kind of sort of absorb, the innovators trying to absorb this new tech and get going with new use cases. And for them, they need to have more. So much as it's been a lot of progress made by everyone in this area, we think that we have to go further and push this harder. And then the third comment they made was mostly about pipeline challenges. The pipelines are complex. We have tool sets. Many people have tool sets. Tool sets work together. Arcturus has a great tool set. Others has a great tool set. Wild Capture has a great tool set. These pieces work together fairly well, but continuing to streamline them, make them more easy, I think will help us get people more on board. So we're inching towards being a standard production tool. I applaud the Europeans trying to get into education to build a future generation of this. And we need to keep teaching and pushing the tech further at the same time so it gets slower and hopefully eventually a faster growth pattern. Thank you.
Thank you as well. I'm glad you were able to join us, Richard. And I will say, as a producer, your particular company is one of the first ones I often hear about when I'm talking to people around the world about these topics. So thank you for leading the way. And next we have Sven. Sven is coming to us from Volumetric. Is that correct? Would you?
That's correct.
Would you tell us your full name, Sven? I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Yeah, it's actually Sven Bliedung von der Heide. So quite a long one. Okay. Yeah, but it's okay if you just call me Sven. It's fine. I'm totally fine with that. Yeah, and thank you, Richard, for the great overview, because our points are quite similar, I would say, regarding pain points and everything. Yeah, let me just share my screen just a bit. So yeah. Thank you all for joining us today. So we are actually, from my perspective, we had a very incredible journey, actually reshaping the whole market, because it's such a new technology, and I really love it to discuss with clients about the possibilities about those things. But first, I would like to take a moment to appreciate the range of work that we do at Volumetric, actually. And our focus is more on the high-end domain, actually, for feature and cinema productions. That's what we are focusing on. But actually, it's not just limited on those high-profile feature films. Actually, volumetric video has, as you know, a diverse application across various media formats. So we'll be using it for creating stories and creating commercials in mixed reality or news broadcasting, or even like music videos, like the latest one with Paul Kalkbrenner, which was released shortly. But we also have like a catalog online called 40 People, with ready-to-use background characters. So currently architects and film productions companies are using them a lot. And then, of course, in the realm of virtual reality and extended reality, we have paved the way of more immersive experiences by creating a Volumeverse. So we call it, it's like actually the first B2B content management system to easily share 3D and volumetric content with multiple users across different platforms, because we learned that we need to have a fast way to actually share our captures and our content to headsets. So we can do like reviews and get fast feedback. So right now, the Volumeverse already contains more than 20 different experiences, and we have now launched the first beta for clients. But actually, perhaps one of the most important work actually that we are doing is actually capturing testimonials of over 20 Holocaust survivors. So this project, from our perspective, transcends the boundaries of entertainment and steps into the realm of historical preservation. So using our technology to immortalize those powerful stories for future generations. This is something that you don't make so much money with those projects, I would say, but it's something we directly started in 2018 to capture those important stories actually for the next generations. And so this is what we're doing as well. And then, of course, one last project I want to share with you as well is a project I think I don't need to mention the name, actually. It doesn't need so much introduction, actually, Matrix Resurrections. This is a project where we use a lot of VoloCaps actually in this whole project. And it's actually a good testament to the limitless possibilities that our technology actually can bring to the world of cinema. So Matrix 4, we actually didn't just replace or enhance the background characters as VoloCaps. We actually elevated the main characters themselves, even in high definition close-up scenes. So actually this relentless pursuit of innovation has led us to embrace time-consistent nerve technology, which Richard also mentioned, since 2020. So we use it already in the feature film to actually scan or recreate and render the whole scenes in motion with the actors in them. And we also ventured actually into the uncharted territory of creating the world's first volumetric underwater stage, which you can see, which we created actually into defining and creating the first new version of the bullet time effect for the new Matrix movie. And actually this shift from simply recording human performances to capture entire scenes in motion is doing more than transforming our industry. It's actually really redefining the way how we tell stories and how we work actually with movie productions. So we also create a lot of portable systems, as you can see, which travel with the actors, which we utilize for such productions. So it's not just our main stage or the typical volucap stages that we're using, but we have a wide variety of camera systems. And yeah, of course, I would say for the pain points or the things that we want to bring or which we want to love to continue working on is, of course, what we see there are like three main pillars that we have to tackle on. And one is actually the quality, as Richard has mentioned as well. For us, actually, quality is something which we all learned is not really negotiable with clients. And to ensure high quality standards across the industry, I think it's time to establish some kind of a quality index for volucap. So that we have a benchmark that acts as a compass directing towards quality and fidelity and realism in volumetric video, but also it could help us to harmonize the client expectations with our technological capabilities so that we have something to better argue with clients and that they know what they will achieve and get in the end. And of course, simultaneously, we must invest in education and training of new talent. We have like a film university next to us where we do a lot of workshops together to get new talents. And also, lastly, I think immersive media production itself needs to be like making a movie. So actually, to make a movie, you need a lot of people and they all need to work together to get it done. And that's something we still need to create for immersive media. So we actually need to build like a streamlined production ecosystem where various service providers collaborate effectively together. And where volumetric video is a crucial part of it, of course. And yeah, we need to evangelize those things. In Germany, for example, we have created like the Extended Reality Association called XRBB. And then we also have a MediaTek Cup for like startups to get into. And at Volucap, we also created the VCA, the Volucap Alliance, where we now have more than 80 partners, which are all B2B. And we are focused on making cutting edge technology more accessible by pushing the boundaries and talking about what is possible nowadays already. And so, yeah, this is
Thank
like...
you. I hope that you will drop some of those links in the chat for the rest of us. I want to make sure we honor our time and give the floor to our next speaker. But Sven, thank you so much for your leadership, both in Germany and around the world, and amazing use of nerfs, by the way. I'm very impressed. Sklar Sweetman, you are coming to us from MetaStage. I hope I haven't mispronounced your name, but could you tell us a few minutes of what you are currently working on and how it aligns with the rest of this volumetric industry?
Sure. Well, it's so great to be here amongst this community of volumetric video creators and technologists. It's really just, I kind of, it is rare that all of us are together just sharing our experiences and challenges. So it's really nice. It's really nice that this is happening. I'm Skylar Sweetman. I'm the general manager of MetaStage. Our studio is based in LA, and we're an XR company specializing in volumetric capture. I've been with MetaStage since we launched in 2018, and in the last 5 years, we have worked on every kind of project imaginable. We've captured NFL players for geo-anchored in-stadium AR experiences. We've captured pop stars that materialize on coffee tables and characters from Star Wars, Marvel, Stranger Things. It's really run the gamut. And then obviously all of the enterprise use cases as well. Service people and veterans for training and community building, survivors of trauma and systemic violence, sharing their stories for the archive of history. So it's kind of been our mission when we launched to bring the best tools for creating authentic quality XR experiences, and specifically real humans, into virtual spaces. So it's been a big journey of learning, I think. And just to talk to some of the pain points, I really like everything that's been said in this forum has just been so resonant. And it's funny to have, it's interesting to just be in this space, focusing on what our pain points are. and trying to figure out together how we can overcome them. The calls to action, I really agree with. But from the MetaStage perspective, some of this is like, I'm not a developer engineer, but do have close relationships with all of our creative partners. And so that's kind of our unique perspective in this space. And I think there have been a few threads discussing the challenges of adoption of VolCap being very connected to the challenges around the adoption of XR media. I think that's really true. Just the comfort, the broader comfort of using XR technologies in a mobile device or in a headset and access to those devices. I think again, like that's evolving, but there was one comment here was a content is king, and I think that's really true, that it's important to be able to recognize where there are opportunities for just like very popular consumer facing experiences with musicians and IP and content, and just really trying to be open to the different groups, bringing that to the broader public. And then also I think that I think captures of utility are really important to focus on too. So those training verticals, I think Hayes was mentioning DoD projects. I think like all of that enterprise training and education could be so advanced by volumetric capture technology. And so figuring out where, what the barriers of entry for VolCap are for those verticals is super key for us. For creators in studios like MetaStage, I think, the tech is still relatively expensive to manage. There've been a few of the folks in this forum have brought that up, and I think it's really true. Our stage, for example, we've got 106 cameras at our studio, and we've always focused on this ultra high quality asset and experimented with different ways of configuring that rig and processing, whether it's processing like down in our local server farm, processing in the cloud, figuring out ways of managing data. It's a lot of, to have this kind of operation and be commercial and scalable is a challenge. And so I think it behooves everyone really. And I guess speaking to the engineers, and again, I'm not one, so it's easy for me to say, but just speaking to that, having those levels of operational optimization are so important and key. Eva, how am I on time?
We are just about to wrap up. So you're doing fantastic. And thank you, Skylar, for giving us a little bit of what you are seeing across the field. I know you've been in this space, and MetaStage has been in this space for many years. So thank you for helping us sort of bring together these perspectives. I'm going to be bringing on Julie. There you are. And I believe Ben is going to be joining us at the end as well. But Julie, I was hoping you could share with us a little bit of the contextualized sense making that you've been exploring today.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna give you a splash of what I've been working on. Can you see my screen? Yeah, okay. All right, so I know my time is really limited because we've heard from so many amazing people here today. So I'm gonna run through this really quickly, and then I'm gonna summarize what we had at the end there. So we started off with Terry Schussler and talking about the legacy and the value of media, also leveraging the baseline of work. That's actually repeated a couple of times. Neil Trevett joined us in talking about Metaverse Standards Forum. And then Denny came in and shared some more information. Things like from Kamal, the benefits of communicating within the community. That's something that is just repeated over and over again. It sounds like a lot of collaboration is required in this community. And I actually learned a new word. I did not realize this was a new word, and that for me was a brand new relightability, the capability of being rendered again with different simulated lighting conditions. So I learned that one. That was a new one for me. There was a lot of discussion around the quality bar, and when I get into the finals, having a quality index I think is really important for this industry so that we can start to set expectations for the clients. work together. Everybody wants to work together. So we definitely need to hit up some kind of infrastructure to make that happen. Maybe I'll just go right to my lessons, because I know there was such great stuff. And one of the things that was said was about the next generation not seeing the importance of volumetric capture. And I think that's a huge hit on what everybody's saying is the slowness to adoption. So, relating back to education and how we need to come up with more communication strategy of the messaging, figuring out why is it important. And there was a couple of things in a couple of the conversations about, there's nothing wrong with 2D, and, but yet we've tolerated 2D for so long. So we need to get this next generation realize that, the importance of volumetric capture and why it means something in order to pick up this adoption. And that kind of just told the whole story all the way through. Content is king, just like we were just talking about. Content authenticity was huge. Just like bringing the authenticity forward in all of this technology that's happening. A lot of questions using AI to make things better. And obviously, if AI is going to be involved in this, we do need to put the quality index together very quickly, because your AI may make it better than my AI. And what is that level at? And what are clients going to, and that'll help the adoption from the clients when they understand what they're doing when they're investing into this very expensive technology that is part of meetings. That's one of the things that I took away. Meetings with VolCap is one of the big things, as well as sports. Those conversations over and over again to get the full capability or full capture of the full body was really important there. What else? Just encouraging a better pipeline. There's a lot of pipeline challenges, and Jill Boyce called an action as well, and having a common effort to make a together, then the researchers can attach and get sticky with it. And if there is no pipeline that they can refer back to, then we're not going to have those researchers talking about it. So definitely a lot of action points there. I don't know if you want to jump in at this point with Ben or Evo and ask questions. Obviously, there's so much to talk about, but
I think you've nailed down those key talking points. My current, as a producer, I can see where those value proposition problems make it very hard to go from fundraising to production, because the cost of these media methods can be quite high. So I'm excited to see where nerfs are bringing the cost down, where virtual beings are bringing the cost down, where clever use of AI and also these open data sets that you're sharing can bring the cost down for creators around the world to be able to jump into this space, not just the AAA gaming industry and the people who have a big sports team. So I just want to thank all of you for helping to make these topics a little less jargon and a little bit more useful for the rest of us, even if we are talking about things that maybe aren't touching you directly. Thank you for helping us to create a broader field for volumetric video across the board. Ben, and I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to our fearless leader, Ben Irwin. Ben, if you could join us. Yes, there you are. Ben has been directing the MetaTr versal events, both behind the scenes and working with so many of you to have these conversations. Ben, would you like to give us any parting words as we wrap up today?
First, I want to thank everybody for being here. We have 2 KPIs with all of our shows, especially MetaTr versal, is we start and end on time, and that everybody shows up, and we've done it again. And so that's what really counts. There are some glitches here and there, but those things don't matter at the end of the day, because we got to hear from everybody. And if you'll indulge me, a Battlestar Galactica reference, it felt like pulling together the colonies of Kobol, or a UN reference is this was a general assembly of the entire volumetric community. And so I'm very grateful for everybody to be here. What I'd like to do is I'm going to switch over to gallery mode. And if all the non-speakers could turn their cameras off for a second, and all the speakers that are still with us could turn your cameras on, I'd love to get us a class picture. And then I want to get everybody else who is with us to be to be part of the picture as well. So here we go. We got Liam Broza still there, but we've got the and there's Helen. So thank you everybody for being here. I've been off on this side. This has been MetaTr versal 9, accelerating volumetric, and the way that this went, I think we might just have a sequel. But we're also talking about a virtual production MetaTr versal, a browser MetaTr versal, and so this is sort of the beginning of season 2, if you will. We began with portal interoperability. We are having a portal crawl on September 8th, where we will be actually going from world to world, and I invite all of you to join us because we actually want to demonstrate the friction of going from world to world, so that that friction will become less over time. So Julie, Ivo, great job as always. Terry, Neil, thank you so much. Our MetaTr versal fellows, everybody. This has just been a fantastic event, and we really appreciate your participation. And if everybody else who's still with us could turn your cameras back on.
That's right. Let's rock it.
We'll take a quick photo, but Ben, also you tend to post these on LinkedIn. Julie will post the Miro board later for those of you who are wanting to go deep dive with the Miro board as well.
Yes, and the replay.
I mean, Julie, since we are all talking, congratulations, guys. It was amazing. And the Miro board is just full of insights. It's what everybody needs. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could do it. Maybe one day I'll be replaced with AI, but who knows?
No, not yet.
And